Okay, this is my 20-second per slide version of a talk about OLnet, the Open Learning Network, and experience of 1 year of collecting research evidence with the idea that we can support all of the initiatives around open educational resources. I'm going to go through 6 areas that we think are particularly valuable. First of these is that Open Educational Resources, OER, is now seen as being part of a change agent, a way in which we can change the approach to learning. Barbara Chow, the head of the education program at the Hewlett Foundation, has labelled this as supporting deeper learning and changing school and college system in the US. We've got another area which is about how do you actually design for the idea that people are going to use your content in a much more open way. The relationship between yourself and your students is much looser, and there's a whole approach to design and picking up the resources that are out there freely available and making use of them again. We need to develop tools that will help us gather the evidence, feed it through to support the way in which people can draw out messages, bring the research together, not just for ourselves as researchers, but also the people we're working with, the fellows, and other people who've got stories to tell us about their experience with open educational resources. A big change is what happens to the learning process in all of this. Do people now still care as much about the accreditation, the bit of paper? On OpenLearn, we just gave certificates to show people what they had done. It recognises the activity, it enables them to show proof. It's not a qualification. Peer-to-peer university, the DIY university approach, both examples of this change. Content, the core of open educational resources, is a very important factor in this. We've been able to see the way it attracts people together, people who are interested in the same subject. That then leads into social connections, other opportunities to work together. But the content is key. What's happened in the last year is that many different countries have shown that they are interested in open educational resources. The sustainability of open education resources now doesn't depend on just a couple of funders. It is a global initiative. UK, OER Africa, Netherlands, New Zealand, Brazil, all showing examples of different forms of initiative. So what goals do we have in all? We need to support each of these areas. We need to be able to support the policy, we need to support design, we need to have a system that helps us do this. Perhaps one of the best views of this is seeing OLnet as gathering different contexts, different examples. The way in which we work with fellowships, the way we look globally helps us to do this. Just from what we know at the moment, we can perhaps say that we've got some evidence both ways on this. We can see the model of OER going into new countries, going across school systems, HE and college systems. There's the rise of open education resource stars and the way that can spread the barriers individuals can take place. On the other hand, we can see cultural messages that can be hard to transfer. So as long as OLnet takes a position where we actually can gather that evidence, plus share it, disseminate it, categorize it, then this can support us drawing conclusions, but also help other people perhaps come up with different messages that can be tracked back to evidence. So we have a goal. A goal is to understand what transfers across different contexts. This is just one of our goals. We can then see similar goals to support other areas of policy change, design, and the different ways in which the education system may evolve. Just a quick flick through then of various bits of evidence we've got from our year of activity. This shows work on understanding what happens in social networks. You see visible modes of participation backed up with different levels of interaction. The social side of learning coming through, supported by the content that brings people together. We've carried out studies across different contexts. We're working now in several different countries with different people who come in. We've had fellows join us from Turkey, from Russia, and we're expecting further ones from China, Australia, Brazil, Canada, the US. We've studied our own experience in open education resources at the Open University as well, by looking at OpenLearn and how communities can be supported on OpenLearn, as well as the individuals for whom the courses perhaps look most suited. We've talked to people who are the key stakeholders who perhaps see themselves both as part of the identified OER movement and those such as those who work for Wikipedia who are also involved in this free resources and how they can change education and motivate people in different ways for self-improvement as well as self-learning. We've picked out the way in which OER can help people collaborate, that it's a free connection that doesn't need to be backed up by legal agreements beyond those given by all putting their content in the middle, all saying we can share. And by working beyond our comfort zone with people who are in other parts of the world, we can see new ideas coming forward. In this example, from a future OpenLearn fellow, OLnet fellow based in Brazil, developing ideas in which a free set of courses can be run in their winter, backed up by their students using free open education resources. We're using the tools, this is Cohere, to support and filter and make sense. Cohere is a very open tool and enables us to put some research thinking, some joint research thinking, and bring our collective intelligence to bear as we draw conclusions. So what about the future? I worked with Eileen Scanlon and Doug Clow looking at various projects and how they all imply that we need to adopt a more open approach for our way universities operate, the way we teach, and the way we research as we move into Research 2.0 processes based on openness. So looking back at those goals, we can see that if we can establish a firm basis of gathering evidence, looking at the opportunities, thinking through what they mean, then we can help support the initiatives that others are taking as open educational resources are brought to bear as a change agent and to support new ways in which education can happen. This talk was given by me, Patrick McAndrew, but it was also with the input of many of the OLnet research team who are credited at the beginning of this slide.